Perfect. So we're going to go to our last speaker in this format for tonight. So I'll invite Vahid to join me on stage. Vahid is the co-founder and COO of Owl.co, which is a Canadian fintech company offering automation of customer onboarding, KYC, AML, check and fraud. It's a check and fraud detection tool. And they started marketing only a year ago, and they've gained so much traction that they're working with 10 of the largest banks and insurers in Canada and the US, which is really impressive. For those of you who've sold to banks and insurance companies, it is not easy to get in, so hopefully you're gonna tell us how you did that. And in his free time, Vahid loves to travel, learn about different cultures, and most importantly, eat their food. Awesome, thanks.
Thanks everyone for your time. I'm glad to be here, and thanks for the invite and for organizing this for the FintechTO. I'm Vahid. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Owl. In my past life with Boston Consulting Group, I was advising banks and insurance companies on how to become more agile and customer-centric. I decided to change seats and co-found Owl.co with two of my co-founders who are serial entrepreneurs a year ago. And the reason that we have seen such an amazing traction in the marketplace is that we identified a pain point, which is all about like automating customer onboarding and really changing the focus to be on customer experience first, making everything instantaneous. But what I want to talk to you about is not really about Owl, but more about the journey that we have gone through. And similar to Christina's experience, my talk is actually all about like what is the view and like how is that sales process to enterprise look like. I'm going to share with you three views. The first view is what I call the simplistic view of selling to enterprise. You're a startup, you walk in there and you're like, perfect, I got a meeting with this bank, let's call it RBC or TD, and I want to sell to them. The biggest challenge is there is no Mr. RBC or Mr. TD who pays for your bill. And that's the challenge that could take you probably months, if not years, to figure that out, is that you don't actually have a project. I hear a lot of times, even we have done that mistake early days, is that, oh, we have a pilot going on, as Christina mentioned, but the reality is that you actually don't have a project. The reality is, this is just tip of the iceberg. The reality of the enterprise is that there is this massive maze of complexity that sits under the ground that it's your job to discover as part of that selling journey. You have IT, you have enterprise risk management, you have legal, you have business unit, and who knows, the prize is actually in that bottom right corner of the slide, and you try to get to that contract and get the dollar. And this is something that we actually learned along the process, is that you really have to change the view of going to these meetings, and instead of selling, please stop selling and learn about the pain points, ask questions. It's very similar to what Christina was mentioning is, and funny that we have so much similarities because we are probably dealing with the same clients and we are talking about the same pain points, is that try to figure out who is that stakeholder that she was talking about. Who is that sponsor who has the money to really help you get that contract. So that to me is the winning view, which in reality to us there are two real sort of like functions, let's call them people, who can help you close that sales. One is the sponsor and the champion who can actually give you the shortcut to that dollar sign in the bottom corner of the screen. What's the characteristic of the sponsor? Someone with a very strong political power within the organization, relatively senior person who doesn't have time for you. But the beauty of that sponsor is that he has money and he has the authority to spend the money, and he has been mandated to solve a major problem. I emphasize on major problem because if it's an improvement to their existing processes, they would definitely use their internal team. But who is the champion? Someone who is trusted by that sponsor, who is probably directly reporting to that sponsor, and is excited about the next promotion, bonus, or incentivized by just a recognition. So if you put these two together, then you have the winning recipe for us to get to that dollar sign in the bottom. So I try to summarize what we have learned in the year. Love to open up this is an amazing community to sort of like share these ideas. So I want to divide it into two categories. One, what we should do as a startups, and what enterprise should basically help along the process. One, as a startup, please do not sell your technology. No one cares about that. Tell them a story how you're solving a pain point. If you are not creating 10x value, you probably are not going to get an easy project in. And when I say 10x value, 10x dollar value. Don't like talk about like time savings and everything like that. Have a 10x value in your slides. Then we just talked about that in the questions, is that spend time actually on figuring out the org structure, who is who, because that would be an amazing investment in time to identify who is the sponsor and then who could be the champion. And more importantly, pilots can drag you until you die. Make that very limited scope, have very specific time around it. And if your sponsor is not committed to sign off on a contract that has a KPI associated that rolls into production, you don't have a project. And if you have done all that, create 10x value, you have done a successful pilot, you have something that they really need. Don't get bullied. Make sure that you stand your ground when you're negotiating the MSA, because it's going to be a tough journey. On the enterprise, please focus on initiatives that are really changing your view from being product focused to customer centric focused one. So those initiatives are where you can actually open up and share those pain points with startups and tech entrepreneurs to brainstorm with you and help you figure out a solution for it. So when you come to the first early stages or like early days of interacting with a startup, I think the best way of looking at those is that those are discovery sessions. So see the tech beyond the pitch. And another thing is, if you just have innovation and you try to have innovation, but it's not incentivized at the C-level executive in their KPIs for compensation, probably innovation doesn't really get into production. Lastly, 2 points. Along the process, bring legal to guide along the process, not to give you brainstorming power. And more importantly, please, please, please simplify your procurement process. I don't have a 5-year financial statement. If you can have a one-pager that can help me with like all the MSA, that's a way for us to quickly create value. So thank you for everyone. We have an amazing team. I'm here on behalf of Al. We are very glad that we have been invited here, and so happy to hear more ideas and sort of like share the learnings.
Hello, hi, I'm Ashish from R Systems. I just wanted to understand how do you identify a champion?
So I think that to identify a champion, you first have to identify the sponsor. And so we can answer like how you identify the sponsor, but to answer your question, is that if you have the sponsor, probably their direct reports are the best starting point to identify who could be the champions. Some of the ones that are reporting to your sponsor are looking for a promotion, a big bonus at the end of the year, or recognition as the early days of them joining that group. So then talking to all of them, and then you see who is really excited about your tech and can really help you navigate the politics internally.
Thank you.
Oh, hi. If I understand correctly, you guys do KYC, right? So my question is, how do you put a dollar value on the KYC product?
So
Thanks.
KYC and AML is actually very costly for all the banks and insurance companies. More on the bank side. They are armies of people who are actually doing this process manually. So you can easily build a case around like how many people can actually you help them not have and also not add to that team because regulations are getting tighter.
Can you use the mic?
Oh, yes.
Great point. what I meant is that build a full business case. So the time saving will eventually lead to $1. The point was build $1 into your pitch. The time saving is a way to build $1.
Hi, thank you for that. Oh, this is loud. I'm from an asset management company. We use services like what you offer. Can you just tell me what makes you different or better than others that are out there?
So there are a couple of things, especially for large banks, that makes us very unique. Is that a lot of the KYC and AML check that you do requires you knowing that individual in a unique way. There is a Dave Smith that you search, and then you suddenly get thousands of hits because it's a common name. Or you check a sanction list or a bankruptcy list, and you want to make sure that that Dave Smith that you're looking at is the same or different than the ones that are listed on the sanction list. So we actually build a lot of we aggregate a lot of data as a first layer of insight around the customer before doing any checks that we do in any other databases that we have. So that is a way for us to really minimize the false positives. And for banks, a solution that we have is very much modular. So any additional databases that they have, we can easily add to our platform.
Awesome. Thank you. That was great.
Thank you.